you please welcome Mr. Robert Jay?
Hey, Rob.
I think we've gone past the stage now. I don't like that. Hey everybody, it's great seeing so many familiar faces, but it's also great seeing so many new faces out here in the crowd today. As times get worse, we're starting to come together, and that's going to mean more and more and more in the coming months and years. Over the past couple of years, there's a certain greeting I've been using a lot more often, especially at activist events. Hey, it's wonderful to see you, but I wish it were under better circumstances. Sadly, with the synagogue mass shooting, military intimidation at the border, and Trump's attempt to revoke the existence of trans people, circumstances have gotten much worse. What can we do? You've been hearing a lot of calls today to get out the vote on November 6th, and I agree with that. We've got good candidates on the ballot, we've got the ability to secure our right to vote well into the future, and we can get a couple of blunts to go with it. So, it sounds to me like that's worth the time taken at the polls. But there's one thing. Trans people have existed and voted in every election, and we're still stuck with the same old bigotry. It's time to do more, and heroines of Stonewall, Marsha P. Johnson, and Stormé de la Vie provide the blueprint for what we, as allies, must do. Stonewall teaches us that when hatred is the law of the land, agents of the state serve its ends, evidenced by the frequent police raids of LGBTQIA-friendly establishments in New York in the 1960s, or the ICE raids that afflict our communities today, such as Hamtramck, Southwest Detroit. Police attacked de la Vie during the earliest stages of the Stonewall Rebellion. Despite taking a baton to the head, struggling with handcuffs that were cruelly tight, she managed to shout the most important question that we, as allies, must ask ourselves. Why don't you guys do something? Should this happen again, we must have the courage to place ourselves in between the police and vulnerable community members. Yes. At minimum, we must provide a distraction, buying time for our marginalized comrades to get away. The National Lawyers Guild Know Your Rights training is excellent for providing lines in that regard. We must also stop accepting arrest as inevitable. It's not game over just because they say you're being detained. Whether it's through the right words or the right amount of pushing, shoveling, and shuffling through large crowds, we can keep our friends out of cages. Make no mistake, this is an exceptionally risky endeavor, fraught with all of those terrible words like resisting arrest, fleeing and eluding, and obstruction of justice. But is it not our place as allies to take on those risks so our vulnerable comrades do not have to?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Should we not be putting ourselves on the line, white allies, we who get favorable treatment in the courts? Should we not, cishet allies, is it not our place to take that spot in jail where we will not be receiving any sort of gender-based violence? That's on us. We need to take those risks. Because as the life of Marsha P. Johnson shows, the very nature of her survival was considered a criminal act by the government. Police attacked her repeatedly throughout her life, just for sustaining herself, or the Star House, her shelter for gay and trans kids, because she supported herself through sex work. But she rose above and created a better world for LGBTQIA people today. One of the main ways she did so was through direct action, like in 1970, when she led a blockade of the Weinstein Ballroom, who canceled the ball because there were gay organizations attached to it. In addition to casting our ballots, that's exactly the kind of thing that we need to do to make a welcoming state for the trans community. If we hear a business discriminates because someone is gay, trans, bisexual, or intersex, we need to block the door and say in one voice, you will do no business until we all do business. If we learn that a person is abused because they're lesbian, ace, queer, or gender nonconforming, when we obtain the survivor's permission, we need to put that abuser on blast, all across our networks and ensure that everyone knows that there come consequences with hatred. The time for civility is past, and arguably, it never existed. There is no place for civility when the very existence of trans people is on the line. We will treat our LGBTQIA comrades with love and respond to hate in force. Together, we will build a better world where all can be their true selves and love who they choose.